What if victory isn't enough? What if standing at the top still feels like you're falling? This isn't just a philosophical question. It's a reality that strikes athletes, champions, dreamers, and now, perhaps, Paris Saint-Germain. After years of disappointment, heartbreak, mockery, and rebuilding, PSG has finally conquered Europe. Champions League winners. The dream is real. And yet as the confetti settles and the cameras turn away, a deeper question arises. What now? What comes after the dream? This is where the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche crashes headlong into the beautiful game. Because Nietzsche, the wild-eyed prophet of becoming, warned us, the moment you achieve your goal, you risk becoming hollow. Victory, paradoxically, can leave you emptier than defeat. Let's talk about why. Let's talk about power, purpose, and why the Champions League trophy might not be the end, but only the beginning of PSG's real battle. Nietzsche believed that human beings are not defined by what they have but by what they strive to become. His concept of the will to power isn't just about domination or control. It's about the fundamental drive of life, to grow, to overcome, to expand beyond limitations. Success is not a destination. It's a moment, and like every moment, it passes. For Nietzsche, the tragedy isn't in failure, it's in standing still. The greatest danger isn't losing, it's stagnating after you win. And so, when PSG lifts the Champions League trophy, they also inherit a curse, the burden of what now? The goal that once gave their pain meaning is gone. This is the psychological trap of victory in sports, in life, in love, even in personal goals. We are fueled by the chase, by the hunger, by the belief that something ahead of us is worth sacrificing for. But once that moment arrives, a strange silence creeps, and Nietzsche saw this everywhere. He wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. But when the why disappears, when the fight ends, what keeps you moving?" For PSG, the Champions League was the why. Decades of effort, billions in investment, criticism from fans and purists, repeated failures, each one, in a twisted way, gave them fuel. The pain was part of the narrative, the loss, part of the myth. But now, what happens when there is no more pain, no more doubt? Do they lose their edge? Nietzsche warned us about this moment. He called it the weariness of victory. Because once you win, once you become what others admire, you risk becoming what you once despised, comfortable, entitled, lazy. You stop evolving. And Nietzsche hated nothing more than stagnation. He said, man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Übermensch, rope over an abyss. The Übermensch, the Overman, was Nietzsche's vision of what humans could become. Not a god, not a king, but a being who constantly redefines himself, who doesn't rely on external rewards or validation, but creates his own values. PSG, if it wants to remain great, must now evolve not just as a team, but as a philosophy. Because holding the trophy isn't the challenge. Holding onto the hunger is. The will to power must now become a will to transcend success, to resist the lull of greatness. Let's take this personally. How many times have you chased something thinking it would change your life, only to feel hollow once you got it? You got the job, the relationship, the car, the followers, and nothing changed inside. That's the emptiness Nietzsche speaks of. Because you were chasing an illusion, mistaking the reward for the transformation. Nietzsche teaches us, true growth isn't found in the prize, but in who you become while chasing it. The trophy is a symbol, but it is not the substance. And so the question for PSG and for us is this: can we keep growing after we've won? This is where Nietzsche's challenge hits hardest. He asks us not to live by goals, but by process, by will, by inner fire. When PSG walks back onto the field next season, they carry more than medals. They carry expectation, legacy, and danger. Because some teams win once and vanish. They forget what it took. They forget the becoming. But greatness isn't found in moments, it's found in momentum. Nietzsche would say, the only team worth admiring is the one that wins, and immediately begins chasing a version of itself that is even better. Not because the world demands it, but because they demand it. That is the will to power. Not dominance, not trophies, but transformation. So, what can we learn from this? We, too, must ask, are we living for goals or are we living for growth? Do we collapse when we win or do we evolve? Are we hunting validation or truth? Nietzsche doesn't want us to be satisfied. He wants us to create, to struggle, not to burn. Because in the fire of becoming, we find meaning. Not in the applause, not in the title, not in the victory, but in the willingness to risk everything, again and again, to become more. That is how you live beyond the trophy. That is how you avoid the emptiness of success. And that is how you, like PSG, keep rising no matter how high you've already climbed. Because the final whistle is never really final. Not for those who still have the will to rise. Not for those who know that victory is just the beginning.